Hi everyone. Welcome. I just hope that my microphone is okay. So just reading through comments, and I like to see where everyone's tuning in from. That's great. And yes, this is going to be available as usual to rewatch afterwards. Hi from Manitoba. Yep, you are in the right place. So my name is Liesl. I know a lot of you have painted with me before. And if you want to say that you're new, let me know. I think this is a good painting for beginners too. So for paints, since we're going to get started very shortly, oh, welcome if you're new. For paints, I use white, black, simple, and then red, yellow, blue. So phthalo blue is best, according to me. I like to use it all the time. Ultramarine blue can work too. Cadmium yellow, bright yellow, cadmium red, crimson red, bright red. Hi, Lynn. Welcome back. And lots of new people. Great. This one's fun. I like this one. One of our last winter paintings we're going to be doing until the winter again. Even though it's still winter here for me. I'm in Ontario. Oh, right. Yes, welcome back. Yeah, I did one last night. It was the Greek villa. Okay. So this is the one that we're going to be doing, and you can change it up however you like. I made it, you can actually, I know that some people want to change things up too, which is totally fine. You can make more greenery in the field. I did it as a winter painting. I wanted to keep it very light because, I don't know, I just really like that kind of style. But you can do a lot of green. It's going to really change the look of the painting. And you can pause and rewind on this video too. So if you need to take your time, that is okay. You can do that. You can catch up. And the blue color is phthalo blue. Yep, this is available on YouTube afterwards. I would highly recommend having white paint to paint this because you might have you don't actually have to, but it's more of a watercolor technique if you don't have white paint, and that's quite hard to do with acrylic too sometimes. Okay, so this is my large brush right here. I'm going to use this for getting a lot of the background done. So you can see I have a lot of wispy strokes for the sky. And I find this is a very easy technique to make your sky look very interesting instead of just simple flat color. It gives it more movement. And also for the so-called snow, the dirty snow on the ground that I made, the reason I added a bit of color is because if you just make it white, it looks kind of empty and it doesn't look like it has depth. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the large brush. And then we can use a smaller, I recommend a square, flat, or just a round, pointy one. You can use stuff like this. And then a detail brush for any little details like the bird, the mailbox, and the farm that I made at the back. So this is not a, it's kind of like a round brush, a mop brush, but it's not. It's a 3/4 inch round, and this is my square flat size 4. And these are my more detailed brush, size 2 and 6, but I'm using a size 16 by 20 canvas, so you might want to use something smaller, who knows. Happy birthday, welcome. All right, let's get started. We're pretty much starting right away. Hopefully that works for you guys. You can definitely use watercolors. So I'm going to take my brush here, just dip it in your water, which I left mine, just 1 second. Dip it in your water and then dry it on a napkin. I left mine somewhere over on the side. Okay, I have my water cup. I, for some reason, left it upstairs. And let's start with the sky. We're going to be taking, let's just take a little bit of a light blue. This is my palette, but it's all dry, don't worry. White and a little touch of blue. So you're going to get some sort of lighter blue. Hi, Lainey, welcome back. So when you're happy with your blue, you can use it. You can always make it darker according to your liking, really. And then from here, this is what I'm doing. I'm using whatever brush you're using, if it's round, if it's square. I like to flick it over to the side, mostly straight. You can kind of flick it over to the side just like that. And you can use a little bit of water with your paint. I'm just going to do a lot of overlap though. So now you can just do a lot faster, fill in the spots. And basically I want to, you can stop at any point. I'm actually going to put a mark down, just a line for my horizon line, just above halfway on your canvas. So the higher up you go on your canvas, the more you have to show the walkway or the driveway, you know, that really long driveway going up to the farm. That's going to be the horizon line. If you go too far down, then you have a really short one. And grabbing a little bit more of my light blue. So I'm just going to bring this down to the side. I know it's purple there, but I'm going to actually put purple over top. You'll see. It's going to be nice. And you can go as far over as you want. You can do little streaks towards the other side. So there's some white, there's a lot of white gaps, but you have it heavy on your left side. Just like this, wispy strokes too. Just kind of flick it over to the side, back and forth, and just leave it like this because we're going to be adding white going the opposite direction into the blue. Hello, welcome. And you can always put thumbs up whenever you're ready for a step, even though you can take your time. You can pause this, but it's nice to know what kind of pace we're going at. I'm washing this off and drying it on my paper towel. Thanks, Lynn. My canvas is a 16 by 20. I always use that size. No particular reason other than the fact that I have 1,000 of them in my garage. So I have to use them. So I've washed off my brush and now we can streak in some white. And it's okay that your blue is still wet. So I'm just going to take plain white here on this brush. You asking if I recycle my paintings? Okay, so now from the other side, I'm just going to do the same thing, except you can be a bit more loose, I guess, with your strokes. Just have it lightly streak it across. You're basically going in the spots that are visibly white. You're just putting white paint there and also streaking it into your blue now. It looks like nice and cloudy. I really like it. It looks very wispy in the sky. It's not like you're making actual full clouds. You're making those wispy clouds. So you start off on your very right side. You can use up a lot of that paint over here, and then you can just start dragging it and being just more sparse with your strokes so you don't do too much as you get towards the left. That actually looks really good on its own. If you want to leave it like that, if you're just like, okay, I'm going to leave the sky like this, you can do that. Or you can add some purple with me in just a minute. My canvas, I actually reuse them, yep. Or I try to sell them because I have so many. Lynn, that's a good question. I don't know. It's called Royal Soft Grip. I get it from Curry's. I'm in Canada, so I know for the US people it's not, you don't have a Curry's, but you can get very similar stuff at Desserts, maybe Michael's. And let's make our purple because we still have that light blue that we left on the side from when we mixed it in the sky here. And to make it purple, all you have to do is just take now a pea size, so a dip of red here on my brush, and mix that here. So you have to be careful. If it's too dark, you don't want to put like a huge streak of, I don't know, just like when I do this, it's pretty dark. I think I'm going to just add a little bit of white. I want to keep it more brighter in my sky. So I just add a bit more white just in case it's too dark. You can put one stroke, see how it looks. And now that we've mastered this technique, see I'm just kind of flicking it away. You can use a bit of water too from the side, just on the lower half of my sky. Or you can spread it all the way across up on the top if you like purple. There's no rules for your painting and how you want it to look. Streak some over to the side, just very lightly and very little towards my right side. My brush is not actually a filbert, but it kind of resembles in a way a filbert. And I do like this brush. This is a good brush. Yep, so Dana, we just added a little dip of red to your light blue and maybe a bit more white so it doesn't come off too strong. You can see there's like a little wispy purple on the bottom of my sky now. Okay, so then if you're in Quebec, then you should hopefully have a Curry's there. So I'm just rinsing this out again, and anything that you want to add to your sky, maybe you want to put some dark blue in the corner here, just a little bit darker blue, or you can go back, put more white back in. You can play around with your sky. And there's no blending for this, which is great. You don't have to blend. So maybe I will go back to my blue that I had before, maybe just go a little bit darker, so just a little bit less white added, and you can put a couple streaks on the very left, keep it a little bit darker. And it creates a bit more movement there too. And I say take a step back, look at your painting, see if your sky is to your liking. So you can see all these strokes up close more. And if you're just joining too, don't worry, you can rewind. You can watch this later. You could overdo it, yes. I'm known for, actually not too much. I'm pretty good at stopping now, but I used to overdo things because it's hard to stop painting. And Dana, you can use primary red is perfect. Hi, welcome. Okay, so I'm just checking. Are we good with this and we can move on? Basically just keep using our large brush, fill the bottom in. It looks really light, but we want to put more depth into it. Oh, my art journey. What do you want to know about the art journey? Okay, so some people are ready. Perfect. And no, this is actually just white paint. So for the bottom, you could just take white paint and put it in, but you can see just how empty it looks, and it doesn't look like there's much going on. So if you have brown, actually you can just use brown. You can also, instead of brown, if you don't want to do this kind of dirty snow look, you can do a light blue and or light purple. That will basically reflect onto the snow what's in the sky. So that's an idea. If you're not a fan of brown, or maybe brown is not your friend for mixing, that's okay. I'm going to pull equal parts of yellow and red. So I'm just going to take a little pea size of each. You actually don't need too much paint in a pea size or 2 pea sizes of white. So equal parts, yellow and red. And for those who've done my mixing class 101, you're already familiar and you know what to do. So this is like a very peachy looking color, which again, you can use that too. It's very close to brown in the brown family. And then just take a tiny little dot of black. If you take too much, it's going to all of a sudden be gray. And if you don't like gray, you might have to start over. So I'm just going to take a tiny little dot of black here. Be very careful. This is really going to change how it looks. More muddy looking, basically. If it's too, let's see, if it's too yellowy looking, add a bit more red to it and it will warm it up. And somebody needs help. What's up? So I'm wiping off a lot of this paint. Let's test it out. We can go along the horizon line. I think that's fine. And the reason is because along the horizon line, it's got a little bit of, I put some greenery for the hills, and you can also blend it into where your farmhouse is going to be. I wonder if this painting reminds anybody of a relative where they live, or their own house or place. Interested to know. So I'm just kind of like the sky, actually. It's very similar, pretty much the same. Just do little streaks kind of throughout. I have plans for this, and I have a reason for this. So I'm just doing a bit of this and do short little strokes, basically. Pretty much all over Just lightly press. You can use a dip of water if you want to make it a bit more transparent. Water it down. And when it's more transparent, it doesn't come off as strong either. You can do a little bit longer strokes towards the bottom too, but I'm not too picky about it. I'm just putting some more interest into the bottom of the painting. Now it no longer just looks plain and empty for now. Nice, Lori. Yes, I know, we're like neighbors. Hello, Marion, welcome. So here is a bit more up close. So if you were wondering, okay, how much did I do? I covered most of the bottom of my canvas. And I'm just going to wash this off again. And the trick here is to, again, wash it off, dry it on a napkin, and take plain white. So if I take plain white, and just, you can actually use a bunch of this white. You can have it really, I guess, chunky on the brush. You can use a scoop of it, and it creates a bit more texture in your snow. So you can just lightly overlay in between some of these streaks. It's going to cover some of them up, and it tones it down so it looks more like it's underneath the snow. You can see hints of discoloration here and there. So everything is a lot more toned down, and it actually looks pretty blended when you didn't have to blend it. Doing the same thing, just streaking it across, doing those little flicks to the side. And if it picks up your brown, I'm good with it. I'm fine with that. Okay. So once you do this, you probably are going to realize you actually didn't do too much of that brown initially. You can always add more bit later as well. That's easy to do. So what do we think of that step? Dana, I think you're doing just fine, right? Just a little hints going throughout. Now you have, I like it. I really like it. I like the look of it. I'm using paint from a bottle. I have 2-liter paint bottles. Okay, now let's outline our pathway. So hopefully this is a good pace for everybody. Even though I know you're probably pausing anyways if you need to slow down. Let's wash this off. And I don't need to use this large brush anymore. I'm pretty done with it. Now let's switch to, where is it? My square flat, this one. Yes, Lori, it is important because you can't really go back and add it back in once you've made your fence and your mailbox too much. And if you're getting gray while mixing brown, it's because you need a bit more red and yellow to add color to it, because gray is not a color. It's in painting, yes, it's a color, but anyways, you need more red and yellow, and it will warm it up and make it actual brown because it's got that orange reddish hue. This is a size 4. So let's put this in right here. It's actually very similar to another painting that I've made with this pathway. So it looks like you can, someone's driven through it. It's got a little bit of that shadow and muddy look to it, but also the snow laying over top. With this brush, you're not going to make a clean line going through. You're trying to make it look rugged and a little bit choppy. So with your brown, okay, you can start with a light brown first. I'm going to use a darker brown because, and you can just go to a darker brown. So you remember that light brown. If you have any left over, use it again. But this is a recap on how to mix it. Equal parts red and yellow, little tiny dip of black. Otherwise, it's going to turn gray when you add white to it, basically. So that's a dark brown. But if you take a scoop of white and mix it with a portion of this, you get that light brown. You can adjust with more red if you want more warmer and red in color. It's all about preference too. But I'm going to use this dark one for now. A little bit of water. So this is kind of starting from the middle, and it's just, you can have it bend either way. I'm going to keep it simple. I'm going to have it going pretty much straight down diagonally. So let's do right around here, I think is good. So I'm just going to do a line going like that, all the way from the back. There. Just like that. You can see this is basically the bottom of my fence. And then the other side, I didn't do such a clear cut line like this again. You can switch to your smaller brush, just so you know. For the bottom of it, I'm just going to lightly press. I'm just going to leave little gaps in between. You can do these little lines and just follow it down. Get a little bit longer too. I'm being a little bit messy with it, so I'm not trying to make it perfect, making it look like you're paving the way here, doing straight lines. You can actually do a couple of lines through it to sort of mimic a line like this, a pathway, just like that. And then if you want to make it look like a car has driven through here, which it makes sense, I think. You know that stuff that collects right in the middle because you have your tires on each side? It makes it look more realistic if you put just a line, lightly press down the middle like that. Cinnamon brown, yeah, that sounds like a good color actually. Okay, and very similar. Remember these little lines that we've made before? You can actually just put some, make sure they're really small. So really short, small lines going up at the top, and then get longer towards the bottom. So really I'm just pulling out this brown paint, just kind of flicking it across. See how I'm getting much longer towards the bottom because everything is closer to you, and this looks like it's much further away. That's why you want to go much longer towards the bottom here. Just make it messy. That's exactly how I did it when I painted this. And I like this style. It's kind of impressionist style. So my plan is just like how we did over here in the background. We're going to be laying some snow over top of your pathway. And just a little bit, not right now. This is a 16 by 20 canvas. Oh, Sherry, you're asking about the brush. Never mind. Great, Melissa, great to hear. Hi, welcome. Okay, washing that off. See, hopefully easy, manageable steps for the painting. And just give me a thumbs up if you are good to go on the next step. So our next step, basically, I want to do what I did over here with the white in this pathway a bit too. And then we will get started on our barn and our hills in the background. And Debbie, it does have a sand kind of color. And if it looks like sand, maybe just lay some white over top a little bit more. So with my same square medium brush, I'm taking that white again. You can be generously, you can coat it generously with the white. And now I'm going to do little dots, just little lines covering in the back here a bit. If you want to use your smaller detailed brush, it might be better and helpful. So if you have a lot on your brush, you can create a lot more texture. It just breaks it up a little bit. At the end too, I kind of like to add a bit more to the kind of brown stuff, and in here I put a little bit more streaks in, especially if it looks a bit empty or maybe not as defined. Oh, nice, Donna. Good. I have a feeling these are going to look fabulous. You can show it on our Facebook page too when you guys are done. So I do like to start with the barn first, because the barn, you can make it as big as you want, but you have to keep in mind, you want to make it look like it's far away so that this looks like it's also far away. If you make it really big, proportions are out of whack and it looks kind of, doesn't look correct with the way that your pathway is. And then after, we will put in our hills so we can put them around our barn, stuff like that. I'm going to switch to my detailed brush. This one right here. Dip it in your water. Barn is dark brown. Perfect. We have that already, or at least we should. Some sort of chestnut brown. It can be red if you want to do red, but I left the mailbox red and I didn't want to have too much pop of color, you know, in the painting. I was thinking about it. I wanted to do it red, but I didn't. Although you could. Or gray is good. So my dark brown again, red, yellow, dip of black. You can add more black if you want it deeper chestnut brown. Okay, a little bit of water on your brush. And it depends on where you want your barn to sit. I made it so that the barn was a little bit off to the side so that you're driving and you're kind of parking a little bit on the side. I felt like that made a lot of sense to me. So I'm just going to start with a rectangle, a long rectangle, just like this. Sort of a long rectangle. And you don't have to go along the bottom, but you definitely can if you want to make it crisp along the bottom here. Grabbing some more water and paint. And then from here, we can make a triangle pretty much in the middle. So I'm doing a triangle in the middle, just like that. And you can bring this down. See how you made, it's almost like a house right now. It's all going to be filled in, but you can just bring it down a little bit. All right, and right on the side, we're going to do that silo right here. Like a cylinder. And a little just side piece right here. I don't know, it's, you know, making it look like an actual farm. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of places to be here. I like to fill this in and up and down with this one, the silo right here, side to side in the actual house. Side to side, just fill it all in. Yep, Lori, that's exactly it. So with this detail brush, you can do little streaks along that same spot if you want to bring them back out, forming around your pathway. It's all about the trip to the mailbox. And Sarah, oh, you can use red for your, yeah, you can use red. I'm doing a dark brown, but I said red is an option too if you want to make a red farmhouse. And Sarah, no, this is not black. It looks like black, but it's actually a dark brown. See, it's not black now when you see it up close. Okay, so I washed this off, my brush, my detail brush. And just take a little bit of white. You just take some water with your white, kind of water it down a little bit. So you take your white paint, put it on the side. You just take some water and water it down. Then with this white, you can put little streaks, not perfect. I'm not trying to make it perfect because it's so far away, you don't see too much detail. Light streaks. Too much white or not watered down, it tends to look very obvious, and there's too much attention onto your barn now. And then if you want to take black, you can actually make your barn door. You know, the traditional barn door. Fill it in with black and put the X on it with white. Just minor little things that you can do. You can even put black to outline a bit more and shape your house a bit. So along the edges here, if you want to go above and beyond just a bit more. So in here, if I just put like a little X there, there's my barn door. It's cute, right? And how's it going with making the farm? And this one's a little bit bigger than the other one, just by a bit. Just let me know if you have any questions too. Okay, so after this, we're going to let that dry. We can come back and put the roof on top. We're going to make the roof outline with the white snow onto it. But now we can work on our greenery. We can make our trees and our hills right here and some trees around the barn. Yeah, Lori, it's the snow. Yeah. Yeah, I like burnt sienna, Peggy. I would use it if I were you. We mixed our own brown. Now for my green hills and trees. Switch between your medium and small brush, unless you have something in between there, which I like to use this one right here. This is a size 6, smaller kind of medium brush, I guess. For green, the way I did this green, so I did a very muted painting. I didn't want to make an actual green because it stands out way too much. So this is how you're going to make it muted. Take a little pea size of blue, then 2 pea sizes of yellow, like maybe even 3. Yeah, I'm going to take 3. Take some white here. So you get a very lime, yellowy green, but how you tone it down and how you mute the color. Take a touch of black. You have to be careful, it will turn really, really muddy if it's too much black, but it's like a gray green. So when you're happy with your color, if it's still too dark, just add more white. Add a touch more black if it's still too bright, too vibrant. I'm trying to avoid the vibrant colors. Make your hills coming from the side. I do it from the right side, and you can just do little lumps here and there, little bumps along the side, and just fill it in all smooth. You can keep it streaky as well. Just follow the groove of the hill. So just put long strokes going up and then back down. Oh yeah, Emma, you can make any green that you want to. This is just the green that I've done. Okay, and with the same green, we can make some trees. I like to do little dots. Just dot, 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 pointed upwards, and then make it a little bit wider at the bottom. Some peekabooing up here. I like to go around, so make it look like there's trees behind my farmhouse. Try to go pretty high because remember we have a rooftop we're making, so you're not going to see a lot of these trees going around. And you can do as many as you want. I'm just dabbing away. They're very far away, so not a lot of detail at all. Just kind of like dotted sticks. Looks like trees. You could change up the color at any point, either by adding more blue or yellow, even though it's already mostly yellow, maybe a touch more blue just to change up the look of some of your green. I just left this pretty much empty, mostly because I want my mailbox to not look like it's got too much going on around it, that's all. Yeah, it can be a wheat field. So if you happen to get any green into your barn, you can just go back with your dark brown, put it back over top, hide it. And one of the last things that I do just around here, you can put a little bit of a shadow on the bottom of your hills here. Optional. I actually used a little bit of my brown. You can add some green, that same green into any of your dark brown or light brown. I'm going to do a bit of a dark brown. Only it just helps make more brown really and makes it a bit of a greenish color. And I just darken the bottom, streaking it across, and it looks a bit more shadowed along your horizon line. You could alternatively just add more black to your green to make it even darker. You just go along some of the horizon line here at the bottom, just to make it a bit more sharp. I like it. I like it's more defined. And yep, we'll come back to this when the green is dry and we can work on our fence. So who's ready for the fence? Thanks, Donna. Glad to hear. Okay, some fast painters are ready. So we're putting the fence just along here. So it's great that we have this line going down here. It's going to be very helpful because all we have to do is make the top part of the fence, basically. And just remember, very narrow at the back. You're not even going to see the fence at the back, and then all of a sudden it's going to get really big at the front. So it's going to look like an angle, like you're making a very acute angle from here, and then just widen it out towards the front. Okay, take your detailed brush again. I'm using a size 2, but my size canvas is 16 by 20, so it's probably bigger than yours. I would say size 0 to a 1. Oh, Mary Lynn, awesome. The cabin window. Yeah, that was a great one. I just like all my paintings, so. Let's do you can do black or you can do your brown. That's up to you. Black or dark brown. I'm going to use my dark brown because I have some left over. If you don't, just use black. No one's going to know the difference at all. So I'm just grabbing it with some white, sorry, with water, not white. Grabbing my dark brown with my water. And this is where you just have to go for it. So starting from the back here, I'm going to do a little line. If you want to take a ruler, you could do that too, and just whoop, right up here at the front. And this is supposed to be the bottom of the fence, this line right here. You can just follow along here. That's the bottom of the fence. Now, if you made a whoopsie, it's okay, because the good thing is, remember when we put white over top of our browns? It's kind of like doing that. You can shape around it with a bit of white, and you can get rid of any little bits that are straying from the line that you initially intended. So you're just cleaning it up a little bit. You can also use white to make the line at the very back a lot thinner, because since it's so far away, you can't see it that well. It's supposed to be hard to see. Honestly, it's just the way it is. It can be almost impossible to see, which is fine, but then it becomes more defined up here. So you can actually make this line up here much thicker. And this is how you get perspective. So I'm starting to go press a lot harder. See how I'm just getting thicker at the front? Now it makes a lot of sense, right? And the same at the bottom. Just press harder. Use the full width of your brush for your smaller brush while keeping the back untouched. You're not really going back over it. And you can pull out any brown for a shadow if you want to, but I'm just gonna leave it like that right now. And hopefully that worked out well for you guys, because from here, once you've cleaned up around your edges, we're going to make the posts on our fence. And then if you want to do what I did, you can make layers. You can put all of these lines through it too. So how did that go? Good. I was worried that everybody was remaking the fence because it didn't work out, but now another thing too, if you decided, okay, I made it too small in general, don't worry. I actually made this fence a lot taller than you think. You can make another line, so very narrow at the back, and just make another line coming out, and it just looks like you have these lines going, the horizontal lines going through all of your posts. So it's very forgiving. This is a good fence. Awesome. Thanks, Nancy, for letting me know. Now, when I use my dark brown again, or black, when you're doing your posts, this is the rule you have to follow. Okay, so here's the rule. Everything has to be straight. You don't turn it, you don't angle it this way, you never angle it. You always keep them straight. So basically true. So you want it to have level with your canvas basically as well. So it doesn't look like your terrain is uneven. So what I'm going to do is do little lines, but just do little flicks at the back, and they're all very close together. They're all very close together, at least they appear to be, because of the reason that they're so far away, you don't see all the gaps in between it, and they're very thin. And then as I get towards the front, see how there's a bit more of a gap in between? I'm just trying to make sure I'm keeping this straight. That's why I want to, there. And they get bigger. So this post right here is thicker and taller. Just pressing harder, using the full width of my brush to the bottom, straight, true line all the way through, no matter what. And then it looks very realistic. It looks awesome. And this one, I'm just going to press a bit harder too. It's still in the foreground. And then I'm slowly just not going to spend too much time on the post, because as you get to about the third to fourth one in, you're going to keep them pretty thin. You can actually just do a whole bunch of lines at the back, and no one will know that you didn't even make each individual one. Thanks, Talon. So this is a very basic fence. You could just leave it like this. And you could go above and beyond from here. So like this one, you can actually raise up the fence line. And this is how I kind of do it. Kind of follow along the tops here and just go towards the back. You're just following the same rule. They're all meeting from this point and just making an angle going a little bit wider towards the front. So take time on this. And also the fence is not really in a spot that you have to do now if you want it to take your time on it later too, because I know it can be difficult when you're trying to make all these perfect lines. I just made one last line cutting through right here. Make sure it's thicker and bigger towards the front, and then just keep it really thin towards the back. So there we go. So when I pull this up, when you look at the back of my fence, it just looks like a bunch of mumbo jumbo stuff. You can't see anything in particular. Up here, now you see all more defining lines. It's a great illusion, by the way. Hopefully this was a lot easier than you expected. You didn't have to get a ruler. And just make your post the size that you want, because I'm putting a bird on one of these guys, right on this one right here. Oh, Debbie, if it looks like it's lying down, I think I understand what you mean. Remember, the rule is all your sticks have to be straight, not angled at all. You want to be all to be straight up and down, no angle or tilt into it. And how did everybody else do too? So when this is done and you let me know you're ready, we're going to go back into our barn and pretty much finish it up with that white snow on the roof, making the shape of it. And you can also outline it just a smidge with a very fine line of maybe brown, just so that it looks like you can see where your roof ends and it's not blending in with your background. Okay, some people are ready. Thanks. Yeah, that pink one I like that one too. Made it recently. I will be teaching it. Depends, Leslie, on what you did to your fence. If you have to just describe what it looks like. It's okay, you can easily make brown. Brown is probably the easiest color to make with pretty much any color. Brown will be made with, if you have green and pink, you can make brown. All the colors mixed together make brown. Okay, so Leslie, just go back over with white and then make your post again straight. Now, let's go into our barn again. We're very close to being able to work on our mailbox. I find it really, really fun. So let's take our white on our detailed brush. Take your white paint, and I'm going to do a line, just do a little line above the side, just above everything. So I'm going to go straight across, and then I'm going to follow, just do a outline around your roof on the triangle part. So it looks like there's a pile of snow just sitting on top and on your silo right here. Just do a little bump. It's hard to see, I know. You can actually make it very textured by adding a lot of white paint. Looks very packed on, you know, the packing snow clump. And follow along here. And a little bit over on the side here. So if I take my brown, you can see a little bit better what I was talking about. Just lightly, very lightly press and sort of outline. You see your roof where the snow is. And I think you can see a lot better now. You can also just add little bits of brown into some of the white if you want to make it a bit more dirty looking. Go with the theme of the painting. You know, so any highlights you want to add. You could do a second coat of white too. So if it's transparent, you can do a second coat. When it's all done, put a blob of white back in and make it pure white so it stands out a bit more. There. Even though we didn't do a whole lot, when you step back, look at the painting, it just looks like it has a lot of details without actually putting in too much of the detail. It's okay, Asif, you can start from the beginning. You can watch this afterwards on replay. And Dana, again, that's okay. You just have to go back over it and make them all straight, right? So they're all the same as you go through the fence. So when I get some more readies or thumbs up, we can move on to our next step. And if you are ready and just waiting, you can play around with any browns or something like that if you want to put more details, put more streaks into your snow to break up all of the white if it looks too white, anything like that. And we want to make sure too where's my square? So my square flat, I'm going to just put a couple of streaks here, only if you think you need it. If it's too empty, I mean, it's not going to be empty. We're going to put a lot of grass here, but if you think it's too white, just put a couple bit more streaks with some of your light brown, something like that. And then we will make our, well, I think we should make the mailbox first. I think we're eager to make that. What do you guys think? Yeah, Nancy, it's just a couple dots to make a sort of line formation. Let's just touch up on it just in case before we move on. So I'm grabbing my whatever green, your yellowy lime green with some black and white. There's little dots at the top, and you can actually, if you want to do a little bit of a zigzag, you can for more of a tree look. Little dot, 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 and then just lightly zigzag it. Because mostly the tree is narrow at the top and then it's wider towards the bottom. Zigzag, zigzag. And hopefully that helps too, just in case you wanted to do a bit more to your trees. Okay, no problem, man. Okay, let's do our mailbox. I like it. I like the mailbox. To do our mailbox, we can put an outline of where we want it to sit. So when you make a line first, when you make a stick, you're kind of forced to put it in a certain spot. Let's just make it a floating mailbox for now. Use your detailed brush. I'm going to go to my size 6 again because it's not too small, and a really small brush can be tedious with trying to grab more paint onto the brush. So I'm using a slightly bigger one. Good to hear, Peggy. I'm using red. I'm going to take my red, but I'm actually adding a really small touch of black to it. So if I take my red here, put it on the side, then I take a little tiny touch of black. When you mix that, you get a really nice deep red. See how dark it got compared to this with only a freckle of black with a big scoop of your red. So that is what I'm using. Add more red to it if it's just a little bit too dark, but you have to be careful. Too much black. If it's just really dark, start over. Don't waste your red. And if you're struggling on the posts, come back when it's dry, put your white back over top, and then make your posts again. So my mailbox, the shape of it, it's kind of like a bread box. I'm going to be honest. It looks like a bread box. I'm going to have it sit right here. This is where I want it to sit. If you go up here, it just doesn't seem right to me. I think I want to sit right there in between the horizon line. So let's put a line right here. This is where I want it to end. And then straight across, make your bread box a little bit rounded at the top. So it's not white too much like a rectangle, has a little bit more softness to it. And then when you get to the end here, this is what we're going to do. So you have your lines here. You're going to just curve it down. See, there's like a little bit of a bump at the top. It's a bit more rounded around the edge. And then this is where you make your arch. So you're going to have that little opening for where the flap of your mailbox is going to close with it, and it's going to be hanging down, so it's open, so it looks like there's mail. Really nice. And if you want to go above and beyond with this mailbox, you can put that little flap sticking out to notify. I would imagine this mailbox has that flap sticking up because walking to the mailbox seems like a long journey anyways. So I made that arch right here. Okay. And then we're going to make this thing hanging down so it's open. It looks like it's just opened and then didn't close it because there's no space. We're going to go just diagonally 2 lines like that. Not too big. Almost like as tall as this, but you can make it a little bit shorter so it doesn't look like it's too much. It kind of reminds me of the tongue a little bit, just the way that, because it's red and it looks like the shape of a tongue. So you have those 2 parallel lines on each corner of the opening. So from this corner, and then from the other corner, angle it down, very parallel. So you're keeping it parallel, and then you're going to just curl it like that on the end. You're just going to keep it rounded so it fits with the roundness at the top here. It's that easy. And what I'm doing is I'm just filling this in. Fill this in. You might have to do 2 coats, by the way, when it's dry. I'm going to fill it in pretty much up and down, but curved. I want to make it look like it's rounded and more 3D. Just doing slight curves, almost like a C shape, like the letter C, to make it look more rounded. So I'll come back and do a second coat when it's more dry. Just getting all the spots. Want to make sure I get it all filled in. And we will fill that in with black, just black right now. A little bit of water, some black. You don't even have to wash off your brush. And if you're wondering, okay, where exactly, just leave a little bit of like a red outline on the edge, on the very right side. So I'm just seeing who was able to do that. I'm also letting this dry for a minute too. Right. And Marie, no worries, you can rewind this, watch it later. It stays up forever. Okay, some people are ready. And you can take your, we're just going to be working on our mailbox. So for outlining it, you can use a much darker red. You can use a touch more black and just make it a bit darker. It's kind of looking like a wine color. Yeah. And right now the sun is like right in my eyes. So I like to go along, just sharpen up. Make it a bit more darker along the bottom here. And I'm trying to make this even, so I'm just going to go and make sure this is all even and kind of straight. This is my bit of a darker red, putting it on the bit of the top and the bottoms of my mailbox, just to make it shadowed. Go with the groove, so a bit curved as you go up. Oh, thanks, Marina. Yeah, subscribe and you can see how many you can see more of our paintings. We're doing twice a week, roughly, of free paintings. Yes, this is acrylic. So I also like to do, with my black, I like to take a bit of a black on my detailed brush and just outline right on the edge here of this flap. And just outline your mailbox, basically. Just do that. Yeah, I've actually done a bunch of winter landscapes. Okay, and just let me know if you are ready to move on. So I'm letting this dry a bit, and you don't want red to be moving around on your canvas. If you get red kind of bleeding out everywhere, just wait for it to dry and go back over it. But I'm just letting this sit, and then when it's a bit more dry, we will put our letters in the mailbox, make it really fun. And I'm sure a lot of you are going to do your own thing, maybe put somebody's name on it. That's a sneaky way to actually sign your painting if you want to do that. So we're going to make the post that it's sitting on. You can do a stick, but you can do a more advanced post, that line and then a little angled out V shape almost holding it up. Oh, thanks, Jan. Hopefully makes it very easy. So with my just detailed brush, or you can use a flat square, you can use the thin side, you can use this. Actually, yes, I will use this because it's good. It's good for, it's actually the width of my brush here. I just press and go straight down because I want to make it look believable that it's holding up my mailbox and it's not a tiny little stick. Let's go back to your dark brown, any brown at this point. If you want to use gray, maybe change it up so that you don't have so much brown. You're sick of brown at this point. I am using my brown though. I have brown to spare. You can add a touch of white if you want to lighten it up a bit and change the way it looks so it's not all the same browns. A little bit of water. So from here, let's just press and go straight down. And use your detail brush to clean up any lines along the edges. Switch to a smaller brush. And I'm doing the extra line coming out here. It's just much thinner. Basically, I'm going to call it a branch. Make more of a Y shape. So it's touching just like it's going right to the almost the end and edge of your mailbox. I like this brown. You can streak it along your fence line. And you can take white afterwards. So what's the white? You just wash it off. You can do a highlight at the same time. So I want to put white right here, just along the very bright sides. And the reason I do this is because I feel like, my light source is where all of this white is. So I'm just putting a bit more into it, and it makes it look a little bit thinner too, in case you were trying to do that. But it makes it look like it's not as flat in color. It doesn't have just a flatness to it. It has more depth, even though you just made a post. So that means the other side could just be black. So on the left side, it can be black for a shadow. And it looks, I think it looks a lot better like this. I like it. Another idea is if you want to write something on the mailbox. Hello, welcome. And now we can make some letters in the mailbox. Let's do that. Let's take our detailed brush. The letters I'm doing gray. Don't worry, I'm not making brown again. So for the gray, you can do 2 parts white to 1 part black, and you'll get a basic gray. You can go darker by adding just a bit more black to it. Very easy. A little bit of water, dip it in. It's okay, you can finish it later, no problem. You can put a little highlight just along the edge. But I want to do a piece sticking out just a little bit and resting along the bottom of the mailbox. And I just roughly fill it in. But I also take a bit of black after, and see, I'm just going to outline it a bit more, go along the bottom, and you can just darken up with the leftover paint, a little bit darkened towards where it's going into the mailbox. You can put some streaks into it. Pretty much that simple. Or whatever else you want to write onto it. If you want to put a name, maybe a stamp. And if you need to, you can just take again some white and highlight or on the opposite side, just in case it's a bit too dark. And then we can put just a bit of snow along the fence if you want to, before we do our bird. We can put a bit of snow on our fence. You can leave it simple, you don't have to, if you like your fence how it is. And snow on our mailbox. This is where I switch to my medium square brush. If you want to change your water, you can, but I actually like the muddiness in the water, and it helps bring out some of the off-white look so it's not a pure white. But just an idea. I'm not going to change my water. I'm good with taking my white on my brush that has tainted water on it. You can put little dabs just on top of your post. See how they're slightly covering on top? I mostly just do it at the front because the back, it's kind of hard if you want to put some at the back. It's hard to see. It's almost impossible to see. And I know you're thinking, okay, it's really hard to see. That is where the blue comes in. If you want to get a super light blue, with just a freckle of blue, you can make your snow a bit more bluey in color. So if I just lightly dab into my snow along the bottoms where it's sitting on my fence, it looks like a bit of a highlight and reflecting from the sky kind of snow. You can even add this in down here throughout your whole meadow area, your field. So that was just a bit of blue, a very light blue, just a dot of blue. And you can, again, streak white over top like we've done before, tone it down. So there we go, a bit more color. All right, Marielle. Good to know. No problem, Nancy. Everybody has their own pace. Okay, so who did the snow, or are we opting out on it? It was an option, but I think it goes with the rest of the painting because you have snow on the roof in your barn. And we're going to be putting some snow on top of our mailbox. So if you go back to your very light blue, you can start with it just along the bottom part. You just dab. You're just using the corner or the very tip of your brush to dab and just make it look like it has a heaping pile of it. So it starts off thin on each end. You can take some white here. A little bit on the end, pile it up, and then back down like a hill. And maybe I'll put a little bit into the lid. So it's like it's collecting around the rim or the letter here. Even in this crevice area on the wood post. Remember, light blue on the bottom, just in case your white is blending into your background. This will add a bit of color from your sky and reflect it into some of your snow. Just lightly dab towards the bottoms of your snow pile. And I think that does the trick. You can do it on your fence too, if you haven't already done it. So just a recap on the snow. Okay, and what do we think so far? Is it working out? Yes, do the shadows on the mail post. I highly recommend it. Put some black on the very left side and white on the very right side. That's the same for the actual mail. Put some dark gray or black. Remember, I put some black right after. You can use dark gray, shadow it on the very left side, and then light gray or white on the very right to highlight your actual letter. Great to hear, Audrey. So we're almost there. Yeah, Lori, you said it as I was saying it. We just have to do our bird, our little chickadee, and we can make our, the brown grass at the bottom. I like the grass. When I was making this, I was like, it needs something. You can put something else if you want to. You can keep it simple like this. I just felt like the grass added to the whole farm look and the dead grass look too. So let me know that you're ready for that, and then we can finish up with any birds or dots of snow actually going through the sky if you are doing snow with me. And honestly, you could keep playing around with this. You can keep adding more streaks into your snow if you want to put more dark brown along the fence line. It just puts more contrast into the painting. Okay, so I want to show you how to make the chickadee. Catherine, I'll show you how to do the grass. Don't worry. The trick is water and your thin brush, but not too thin that it doesn't hold any paint. That's okay. So for our chickadee, I'm going to outline in black. You can outline in white because you can see a lot better and just rub it back into your background if you don't like it. I'm going to use black. I don't recommend black for you guys. I would recommend white first or very light gray. So the chickadee, I'm just doing a circle like this. And I'm leaving a gap for where it's going to sit on this post. And then I'm going to do another circle, but just a bit more oval shaped. They're actually quite round. They're round little ones. Notice how the body is bigger than the head. You want the bird to look like a bird. It doesn't have a big head, or you have like the bird brain, you know? Big body, little head. But don't overdo the body. And then from the back, see, I'm just going to flick out, just do a couple streaks for a feathery tail. Yes, Lori, birds in the sky. Those ones are really easy though. You can make a little bit of a wing kind of flicking out to the side. So around the middle part flicking towards the back. It mimics a wing. You can do a couple lines You don't have to worry about details for this too because the bird's not so close up that you have to worry about the details, which is great. And chickadees, they have these, I want to call it a toupee. They have like these little top parts. It's a bit rounded, it has a bit more black here. So once you're done with your outline, then you can take your black, by the way, or dark gray. They have this line streaking and coming in at the front for almost a face mask, and then a short, well, that's not that short now, is it? But it's supposed to be a short little beak. Actually, it's not too bad, so that's good. Attached right in the middle of the face. So just bring it down and just make a short little triangle. And fill and just connect, just put a little bit of black in the neck area right underneath that beak. And then we're going to put some white in the body and make it a bit more, not as, so you don't see the circle. You want to get rid of that. And we're just going to blend it in together. Just washing this off. And you can do many birds. If you are really liking how this bird's turning out, you can put more. You can put one on top of your mailbox maybe. Hi, welcome. So I'm taking white here, and then just in the middle of the head, just leave that top part of the black part of the head, just keep it black, and drag it, just bring it down, go with the groove, bring it down into your wings here. And actually, Lori, I don't think it's an owl. I think I tried to make a chickadee here. See some white, just a little bit into the tail. You can define it, and you can also put a little streak through the beak. But again, this is all very abstract. See, now you can see more defining features around the wing, around in the black part in the neck. See that neck part? And then at the top, it's got that black. You can make a big bird, that's okay. So when you pull it back and look at it, now you see it looks more chickadee-like. And if you need to, put more black in around any spots. And if I have some leftover black, I'll probably put it along, little flicks along the fence line, longer ones towards the front, for a bit more of a shadow. And I have a lot of snow here in Ontario too. Just replying to you, Nancy. Yes, for sure. Get your paper, get your media art paper, paint along, you can start at the beginning. How did our bird work out? How did the chickadee go? You didn't have to do chickadee, but that's how you make pretty much any bird that you want to make. Cardinals are similar in the shape, but you have, instead of that slicked back black on top of the head, you have it more of a crest up top. Yes, here's the bird again. And Linda, no, I did not. Maybe it looks like I did, but I did not. The eye is hidden in the black part, so there's no point in making an eye. And if you do make an eye, it might be a little scary. Okay, are we ready for the grass? All of these can be like reeds, mostly just kind of like bits of dead grass. Ooh, Catherine, nice. Yep, good. That's okay. If you made a small if you made a small bird, that's okay. It's still going to look like a bird, and you can put one on your mailbox, or you can make another post next to your mailbox and put a bird on it. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, before we do those pieces of grass with the brown, let's just do a couple of birds in the background with black. And you can always do these at the end, so anybody who's catching up too. Let's do some, let's start with a V shape and just put a dot in the middle for the body. Use your detail brush for sure. I'm going to turn it into like a bit of an M shape. See? Dot for the body. And let's do another V shape. Make them a little bit bigger now and again. So maybe right here, I'll just press a little bit harder. And it looks like it's a bit closer. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's make it an even, sorry, let's make it an odd number. Let's make it 5. I like these ones. I like the more M-shaped ones. So I put that, just a blob here for the body. And the reason is it makes it look more believable, like there's an actual bird body here with wings. So those are the distant birds. And Nancy, are you picking up the blue in the sky, or what's going on? Okay, now for our grass. So first, let's start with a light color. Let's start with a light brown. Use your detail brush. I'm using a size 2, so this is the size I'm using. I'm going to take my brown. I'm going to actually put a bit of white into it and some more yellow. I want to make it look a little bit orangey in a way. So now we have a bit of a different brown. We're changing up the brown. So something like that. There's my dark brown. More white and a touch of yellow. It makes it look golden. So it looks golden. Now when you have water on your brush, you're going to start from the bottom, flick it up. Pull away from your canvas too. You're going to run out of paint really fast. You have to do it all over again. This is good practice before we get to our dark ones. You can't see much of these. I'm just showing you a bit more up close. See how they're very faint? These Great practice. Go right over top of your post. Do a little bit shorter ones towards the sides here. This is where you press really lightly. Yeah, Lori, I say odd numbers because for some reason people really enjoy odd numbers in a painting. I like to do taller ones towards the edge and then a little bit shorter here. Make a little grass patch also in right here, maybe a couple little pieces. You can go along your fence line, whatever you want to do. And Shameen, what happened? So hopefully that worked out with the light yellowy brown golden color. Remember, water and paint. Let's go to our darker brown. This one. Picking up with water. Now doing the same thing. You're going to get layers. It's going to look like a lot of depth into it. Barely touch your canvas. Flick it upwards and pull away too. Just do some different directions. I like to put a lot more towards the bottom. It makes it look shadowed and more rooted to the ground. So that's another tip. Make it look like it's rooted to the ground. So do a couple small ones and fill the bottom with some darker brown pieces of grass. And if you're trying to make the farm in the background, you have to just rewind, go back to the beginning, and you can see how I made it. And you can actually take a bit of black if you're really comfortable and put in some hints of black through the grass. I'm not thinking too hard about where it's going. I just know that I want it mostly down here. I have all these layers now that they're built on top of each other. And there's a lot of shorter ones, pieces of grass that I made towards the bottom. And I think it really brings it more together. Do different directions. Don't do all the same direction. It doesn't look that natural unless it's a very windy day and it would be blowing towards one side. I think that's good enough before I go and overdo it. And Leslie, hopefully this is working out for you, making the grass. So from here, it's all about what you want to do, anything that you want to add. I like to just finish up with some dots of snow, and just to verify that it is actually snowing in the painting, use the back handles of your brushes. I like to use my medium and my smaller brush so I get different sizes of snow. It looks like you can see bigger pieces here and there, and then smaller pieces, you get a variety. You're starting over the grass, Leslie? Catherine, if you didn't add water, just add water now. See if you can make them a bit taller to hide some of the ends of the ones that you're not a big fan of. So if you have pieces of your grass that are, I don't know, something, they don't look right to you, just make them a bit taller and add some water if you can afford to make them taller. Oh, Leslie, okay. If you want to start over, that's okay. You can just watch the replay, and then when you do it a second time, for those who like to redo their paintings, it comes up, it's a lot easier, I find. You just know what to do. But you should show the results too on our Facebook page. You can always ask questions as well. Because it's hard to, I can't see any of your paintings, so I can't give too much feedback unless what you tell me. And Leslie, I use gesso. You can actually use a thick white paint if you don't have any gesso. Thanks again, Yelena, for joining. So thanks for those who joined. Go to our Facebook page, post them there. We love seeing results. And this will be up forever, so you can paint this again. You can paint it at a later time. You can keep touching up on anything. If you want to put some white highlights on any of your posts here, on your fence, there's endless things you can do. You can do so many details and add on to it. It's really how much work you want to put into your painting. And it's really hard to stop, as you can see. All right. So thanks again, guys. Paint with me again, subscribe, so we can keep going live. Brand name canvas. I usually get them from Curry's. I'm trying to think of the name. I can't even think of it right now, but you can get a gallery canvas, except those are expensive. This is not a gallery canvas. It's got a not too thick of a frame. Yelena, you can post under one of our calendars, or that can work, or just make a post on our Facebook page. That's okay. If you want to go back over it, the grass is actually, if you have an issue with grass, I know sometimes making grass, it's so simple, at least it appears to be, but till you do it, you're just like, oh, thanks, Sherry. You can go back over it with your white again. Just kind of put some white there and just do it all over again. Really, I think it's really easy to do. Ooh, I like to see the digital image. That's pretty neat. Also from Curry's, my big jugs of paint are from Curry's. So here's my paint bottles. Start acrylic. And check out our previous events too. That color wheel, if you have issues with mixing colors and you don't want to have to buy all the paints, you can mix pretty much any color with the primaries. So a good tip too. You can save a lot of money. Okay. Thanks again, guys, and I will see you next time. Check it out on our events tab, on our Facebook page, or on our website. Bye.